In our previous lesson, we established a law as certain as gravity itself, that a persistent assumption must objectify itself in our world. But this profound understanding inevitably gives birth to an even deeper question. When we close our eyes and assume a new state of being, where is it that we truly go? Are we merely daydreaming, entertaining a fantasy? I tell you now, you are doing something far more fundamental. You are exercising a faculty that most of humanity has forgotten. You see, you have been taught that time is a rigid line, a road upon which you must travel from a fixed past to an unknown future. This is the grandest of all illusions, an illusion that has held man captive for centuries. Today, we will not just discuss this illusion, we will shatter it. To shatter the illusion of time, we must first understand its true nature. Time is not a line. It is a dimension, just like length, width, and height. Imagine, if you will, your entire life written upon a vast ancient scroll. Every single moment you have ever lived, and every potential moment you could ever live, is inscribed upon this infinite scroll. The man who is unaware believes he can only see one single line of text at a time. He calls this tiny sliver of perception the present moment. He believes the lines above it are a past that is gone forever, and the lines below it are a future that does not yet exist. He is a prisoner of his own limited focus. But you, your true self, your own wonderful human imagination, you are not the text on the scroll. You are the reader. You have the ability to move your attention, your inner eye, to any section of the scroll you choose. The past is not gone. It is simply a section of the scroll you are no longer looking at. The future is not unwritten. It is merely a section of the scroll you have not yet chosen to read. All of these moments, all of these possibilities exist simultaneously now within this grand scroll of time. This is what it means to think fourth dimensionally. It is the shift in perspective from being a character trapped in a single line of a story to becoming the conscious author and reader who can access any chapter at will. Your physical body may be anchored in what appears to be a single moment, but your consciousness, your imagination is free to travel up and down the entirety of this scroll and to experience any reality you desire. So, if all of time exists now upon this infinite scroll, how does one become a conscious traveler? How do you deliberately select and experience a line from the future? This is not a complex ritual. It is an art of inner stillness and focused assumption. There are 3 stages to this inner journey. The first stage is clarity of destination. You cannot travel to a vague location. You must choose a specific event, a single simple scene from the scroll that would naturally occur after your wish has been fulfilled. Do not choose the moment of receiving the desire. That implies you did not have it before. Choose a moment after. If you desire a great sum of money, do not imagine the money appearing in your account. Instead, imagine a conversation with a loved one where you say, "Isn't it wonderful that all our financial worries are a thing of the past?" If you desire a successful business venture, do not imagine signing the contract. Instead, imagine yourself months later, sitting in your established office, feeling the quiet satisfaction of a venture that is already thriving. This scene, this destination, is your target. The second stage is total sensory occupation. This is the act of the journey itself. Here, you must understand a critical distinction. You are not going anywhere in a physical sense. You are psychologically occupying a different section of the scroll. You do this by bringing the feeling and senses of that future moment into your present awareness until that future moment becomes your present awareness. in the state akin to sleep, that gateway to the larger you. You immobilize your physical body and bring your imaginal scene to life. But do not just see it. That is mere observation. You must inhabit it. If your scene is the conversation with your loved one, hear their voice. Feel the warmth of the room. Most importantly, feel the profound relief and gratitude that would be yours in that moment. What would be your inner state? Peace, security, joy. You must generate that emotional signature now. You loop this short, sensory-rich scene over and over until it takes on the tones of reality, until it feels natural, until you are more aware of your imaginal world than the room in which your body lies. The third and most transformative stage is the return with the memory. After you have successfully occupied the future state in your imagination, after you have felt it truly real, you open your physical eye, and here is the secret. You do not return with hope. You do not return with longing. You return with a memory. You now have the memory of a future event. It feels just as real as a memory from your past. You remember the feeling of relief. You remember the sound of your loved one's voice. This inner conviction, this quiet memory of the future is the psychological anchor. It is the spiritual seed that has now been successfully planted. You now walk through your days not as someone who is hoping for a future, but as someone who is moving towards a future they vividly remember. And the world, by a law you cannot break, will begin to construct a bridge of incidents to lead you to the physical fulfillment of your new powerful memory. This power to travel along the scroll of time may seem fantastical, like a dream. But I tell you, it is the fundamental nature of your true being. I discovered this power not through abstract philosophy, but through intense personal necessity. Let me share a story from my own life, my journey to Barbados. It was the heart of the Great Depression. I was living in New York City, and I was possessed by an intense desire to spend the winter with my family in Barbados. But I was utterly without funds. I did not have a penny for the passage. For days I wrestled with this fact, the fact of my empty pockets. I was trapped in the present line of the scroll. Then I remembered the law. I remembered that I was not the line of text. I was the reader. So every night I stopped seeing myself as a man in New York who wanted to go to Barbados. Instead, I began to see the world from Barbados. In my imagination, I lay down on my bed in my small New York apartment, but I assumed I was in my childhood bed in my family's home in Barbados. I did not just see it, I occupied it. I could feel the warm tropical air, so different from the biting winter of New York. I could smell the faint scent of the sea salt carried on the breeze. I could hear the sounds of the night outside my window, the rustling of the palm trees, the distant sound of the waves. I looked out my imaginal window and saw the familiar harbor. I walked through the rooms of my family's house, feeling the familiar furniture. I saturated myself with these sensory impressions, night after night. I did this until the feeling of being in Barbados was more real and more natural than the feeling of being in New York. I had successfully traveled to that section of the scroll. I returned to my waking life in New York, not with hope, but with the quiet, confident memory of having been in Barbados. I felt a profound sense of inner peace. It was done. What happened in the outer world? Weeks passed and nothing. The world of my senses screamed that I was still in New York and still without funds. But I held to my memory. I refused to reread the old line of the scroll. One morning, a letter arrived from my brother Victor in Barbados. Inside was not only a warm invitation, but a draft for $50, more than enough for a passenger ship ticket. He wrote that he had a sudden, inexplicable urge to have me home for Christmas. I had traveled to the future I desired, and the world had rearranged itself to build a bridge to that destination. This is not a New Age concept. This is the deepest esoteric secret of Scripture. The Bible is a psychological drama, not a history book. When the great I am of the scriptures declares, I am the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, it is the voice of your own consciousness speaking. From its fourth dimensional perspective, it sees the entire scroll at once. The beginning of your journey and its end are but different points in the ever-present now. This is why it is written, before Abraham was, I am. It is a declaration of freedom from linear time. Your consciousness, your I am, pre-exists every state and can occupy any state. Your task is to stop identifying with your current temporary state on the scroll and to identify with the I am, that is the reader of all states. From that vantage point, you are truly free. So, we must come to a new understanding of our relationship with time. Stop living as a creature crawling along a line forever, a victim of what has passed, and a slave to what you fear may come. You are not the creature, you are the creator. The past does not have power over you unless you choose to constantly reread that section of the scroll. The future is not uncertain, it is simply unchosen. The entire library of possibilities, every potential life you could ever dream of, exists now complete and finished. Your true work is to become a master librarian of your own being, to learn how to select any book, any chapter, any line from this infinite library and make it your home. This is the freedom that comes from thinking fourth dimensionally. It is the end of hope and the beginning of knowing. It is the end of waiting and the beginning of being. You do not need to wait for your future to arrive. It is already here, waiting patiently for your attention. Now, this newfound freedom naturally leads us to observe something remarkable. As you begin to travel to these different realities and assume new states of being, you will notice that the people in your world begin to change. A boss who was once critical suddenly becomes supportive. A loved one who was distant now becomes affectionate. Why is this? Are they separate beings with their own free will that you are somehow magically controlling? No, the reason is far more profound, and it is the key to mastering all of your relationships. You are discovering the fourth great principle, that everyone is you, pushed out, and mastering this final great mystery of human relationship that will be the subject of our fourth lesson. Before we conclude this session, I leave you with this commission. Do not allow this to remain mere intellectual curiosity. Tonight, become the time traveler. Choose a single joyful destination on your scroll, a future moment that thrills you. Occupy it, feel its reality, and return with its memory. If this lesson has illuminated the nature of your true power, share the specific insight you have gained in the space below. Your testimony can serve as a map for a fellow traveler. And if you have found light in this teaching, do not hide it. Share this message with those you feel might be ready to awaken to their own power. For the awakening of one can lead to the awakening of many. To continue this journey of discovery with us and ensure you are present for the profound revelation of our fourth lesson, simply signal your intention to return. Remember, the life you desire is not something you build. It is something you select. It is already finished. Now, let us go into the silence.